On this episode of Food Finds, you're invited to a party. It's a tea party in the beautiful Connecticut countryside where we'll sample some delicious delicacies. The setting, the tea, and the sweets are pretty special, like luscious premium chocolates, exotic teas from around the world, and traditional cakes and cookies just like Grandma made. It's a feast for the senses next when Food Finds takes you to a Connecticut tea party. Hello, I'm Sandra Pinkney, and welcome to Food Finds from the Connecticut countryside. Folks come to this area for the great outdoors, terrific antiquing, and for little inns like this where they can relax with a refreshing cup of tea. On this episode of Food Finds, we're going to introduce you to 3 companies that can help you make the perfect tea break at home. Now, tea is good, but luscious sweets make it even better. So let's indulge. I like the idea of sampling very high-end gourmet chocolates with my tea, and so we're having a tea party. No, not like Alice in Wonderland. We're having a laid-back get-together in Litchfield County, Connecticut. And I think I made the right choice sitting next to Eric Landegren, founder of Bridgewater Chocolate in Connecticut. In his native Sweden, Eric had been a chef to the Swedish royal family. But in 1986, he joined a team of Swedes to start a restaurant in New York City, specializing in Swedish cuisine. Eric made weekend visits to the Connecticut countryside and fell in love. That led to a move from the Big Apple to picturesque Bridgewater, Connecticut, and from executive chef to chocolatier and manager of the village store.
The first thing we made was dark chocolate turtles, and they went over. The first Saturday we put them down, they all sold.
It wasn't long before Eric's other chocolate-covered confections like truffles, peanut butter patties, and toffee were flying out the door. And no wonder. While many people use only one brand of chocolate, Eric custom blends several brands with different characteristics to produce his signature Bridgewater chocolate.
Here they are, the 4 chocolates from different parts of the world, which make up what we think is the very best blend in dark chocolate.
What's special about the Bridgewater blend is that it's made with chocolates that have a higher percentage of cocoa and cocoa butter than others. Eric says most dark chocolate in the U.S. contains about 50% cocoa. Bridgewater's dark chocolate averages about 60%. After the chocolate is blended, Eric makes it into blocks that he stores in the cooler to use later. The blending process is key because Eric says it delivers better flavor and texture.
And it's going to melt in your mouth, and it's going to therefore feel very smooth.
Eric's recipes were an instant hit, but he says it was far from easy for this classically trained Swedish chef to learn a new specialty. Chocolate, it seems, has a life of its own.
It's very, very difficult. The hardest task was not to develop recipes for our confections. The hardest part to learn about chocolate was to learn how chocolate behaves in humidity, how does it behave in the fall, how does it behave in dry wintertime.
While Eric was learning how difficult it is to make chocolate, he quickly found out that his kitchen situation wasn't helping at all. It was located in a historic landmark, so Eric couldn't change a thing. When he cooked, his upstairs kitchen heated to 120 degrees, and naturally, the chocolates couldn't harden. Eric had to move part of the kitchen to the cooler basement.
I wasn't happy about the steep staircase, bringing 35 pounds of 310-degree caramel down the stairs.
Gradually, the business outgrew the building. At the same time Eric was expanding to a new location in nearby Brookfield, Connecticut, he met his partner, Andrew Blauner. Andrew oversaw the new construction and now handles the paperwork, so Eric doesn't have to. But Andrew can't seem to stay out of the kitchen either.
Yes, this is a nice break from the everyday dealing with customers, and just so I can come back here and get a nice break from that and, you know, eat some chocolate while I'm here.
With Andrew as his partner, Eric is free to do what he does best, and that's creating chocolate confections.
We're making our bottoms for our truffles. The belt is cooled from underneath. It takes about 1,200 truffles to fill up. We pipe the Bridgewater truffles, and they get a little bit of a top to them. Again, this is one of the timing critical aspects of our business. It's in perfect texture right now. I think I'm a little faster than you, Jack.
Mine look a little better.
Eric's truffles are customer favorites, but he especially loves making his trademark, classic English toffee. It's a bit finicky and has to be poured when it reaches 300 degrees or it'll burn.
So over here now we're hand slicing them, and of course we're trying to be as uniform as possible. A little deviation we don't mind, because it sort of adds to the fact that they are handmade confections.
Eric makes everything from scratch, even the peanut butter for his chocolate-coated peanut butter patties.
What we have here is our raw peanut butter. It's just ground up peanut butter without anything added. Obviously this is too soft to dip, and by adding some sugar and sugar fondant to the recipe, we'll stiffen it up just slightly. This needs to mix just for a short period of time. We do all our peanut butter in small batches. This is a great state to roll it out, and then it will stiffen up a little bit further so we can take our round patties out with a round cutter. What this frame does, it just helps us maintain a uniform thickness.
Eric says the cool air makes the oils of the peanut butter firm up even more, and that's what needs to happen so that the patties can pass under the enrober that enrobes or coats them with chocolate. Eric says he learned quickly that Americans love peanut butter. The patties are his best sellers, so he makes a lot of them. But he especially loves the chance to do intricate custom work. In this case, he's applying the letter R to individual pieces of toffee for a bride named Renee who wants to give them as favors.
This is a two-man job. While Jack is hand dipping them, I'm doing the R's, and it's important to do the R's while the chocolate is still soft.
A final decorative touch distinguishes every Bridgewater chocolate. Then each piece is hand-wrapped in 2 sheets of tissue paper. No little brown cups for Eric or you.
Like everything else here, even the finishing touch, it requires a lot of handwork.
And now for the chocolate tasting. I told you the tea would be better with sweets, and now I'm really glad I sat next to Eric. What better way to enjoy a Connecticut tea party than with Harney & Sons Fine Teas? You'll see why some of the world's finest hotels serve only Harney teas. And later on, our viewer's guide will tell you how to order from Harney's Teas, as well as our other specialty providers, when Food Finds returns. Some think tea is tea, but it isn't. The best-selling teas are English breakfast teas. But what about other traditional teas, like black or green teas, herbal teas? Did you know there's even a brown tea? Well, tea expert and provider John Harney knows all about them.
We have about 200 teas here at this place. However, we could have 500. We have 1,000. I mean, just in herbals there are probably 3,000 herbals.
Harney & Sons in Salisbury, Connecticut is marking more than 30 years of providing fine teas. The company that started in John Harney's basement is now known throughout the world. Today, John runs the company with the help of his sons, Paul and Michael. When Michael talks about tea, it's clear that tea knowledge is being passed from one generation to the next.
Dragon Pearl Jasmine is a rare tea from China. The green tea is plucked in April and hand-rolled.
John Harney is especially passionate about the finer qualities of loose-leaf teas.
When it's not in the bag, it's a full-leaf tea, a whole-leaf tea. It just gives a lot better flavor. As soon as you start cutting tea up to put it in a bag, you get a different flavor.
The hot water infuses quicker with the small leaves in a tea bag, thus some of the negative qualities of tea are imparted quickly. That's why tea bags don't taste quite as good as loose tea.
In 1970, John bought a tea company from an English tea master, Stanley Mason. Mason taught John everything he knew about tea.
And when he taught me how to buy tea and where to buy tea and all the contacts, gave me all his contacts, and taught me how to blend, I was a tea master.
Perfect size, perfect color, perfect smell.
John's learned a lot. Today, Harney & Sons provides tea to some of the finest restaurants and hotels in the world.
Ritz-Carlton.
But success didn't come easily. John was a pioneer for the use of loose tea in the 70s when the tea business had pretty much died.
He would go out and try to talk people into giving up, say, tea bags and using loose tea. It was a thankless job originally, but now it's very chic for fine restaurants to use loose tea.
What's happening in the tea business today is similar to the way Americans went from drinking tap water to designer bottled waters. An amazing variety of teas is now available in stores and fine restaurants. And Harney's Tea Room is a mecca for tea lovers who can sample dozens of colorful teas, like their new herbal tea, yellow and blue.
It's chamomile flowers from Egypt, cornflowers, and French lavender. Genmaicha is a special Japanese tea. It has some popped rice in there.
Like Genmaicha, some teas get their flavor and aroma from the blending of natural ingredients. Others, like Earl Grey, need a little more help from the tea master.
And what he's doing now is spraying with bergamot, which is a natural essential oil. It runs us about $83 a pint.
Bergamot is a citrus fruit from the Mediterranean, and since its oil is also in demand for perfumes, it's expensive. It adds a distinctive citrusy flavor to the Earl Grey.
Well, our flavors, as you can see, we date each of these on it, and what we end up doing is, if we smell it and it's not quite up to par, then we'll add more flavor and reflavor.
Much of a tea's flavor comes from its aroma, and Michael says he uses most of his senses in a tasting. After smelling, he checks the leaves for color, and finally...
We slurp because, like tasting wine, it's important to aerate the wine, to break it up into small particles.